Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Freedom Brigade Nation. We have producer Andrea back with us today. We have missed you. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to be here. We've had a big couple weeks, so we have a lot to talk about.
We have. So we had a show that I did not, I left it on the Rumble and on the Facebook and all the places we had it, but I never put it on the Substack or put it out because just as we were closing up and we were talking in the green room, the three of us got the news that Charlie Kirk was shot. And so, like, my life's been ruined since then, right? Like, I haven't stopped. I can't even say that without like wanting to cry. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And so I never put the show out, right? And so there's another show that we'll put out maybe next week. I have felt that it was so inappropriate to put it out when there's no mention of Charlie Kirk yet because he hadn't been shot yet. It was literally in the green room as we were finishing that.
Yeah.
And so September 10th, we are all going to remember where we were when we found out Charlie was shot. I've been saying for decades, longer than I've known either of you, that this is a spiritual battle. And if that was not apparent before, it really is now.
Mhm.
And, there's so much. I realized that I have not been as bold as I should be. That should scare some people. Uh, no, but so I've been saying the name of Jesus Christ a lot more because my whole life is centered around my faith. Everything I do is centered around it. And I say that, but I say words like faith and I'll throw in Jesus more less previously. And I'm not going to do that anymore. I remember one time, Andrea, you and I think we were was Idaho the awakening tour that we were outside?
Mhm.
And they were doing a worship set. And I got to be the booth we were in. I was working the booth was right on the edge of the stage, so I got to see the whole show. Where usually I'd only see on breaks or whatever.
Yeah.
And usually I'd go to the green room on breaks and actually relax for a minute. Very rarely did I go see what was being said. And so they started worshiping, and that's who I am. So I just started worshiping. And I'm like in the middle of worshiping and I'm talking to God. And all of a sudden I have these arms around me and I open my eyes and it's Andrea.
Aww.
And I had not because that was my work life, right? And so they knew I was Christian, but I didn't really talk about my faith on that level with that group because that was my job. And I just said, well, I guess they know now. And because it was really but that is the way we should be with all of it all the time.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a difference. And it is ideologies where we have been taught to separate.
That's right.
I've been saying there should be no separation of church and state, that you should be talking about truth from the pulpit, but there should be no separation in any part of your life. But I want to hear from you guys. This was truly a turning point. He was prophetic when he put that and named his organization that, because it's not just for America that it's a turning point, but it's for the whole world. That the whole memorial was God. The whole thing. Elon Musk is truly worshiping next to Donald Trump. What is happening? Like, you have people like Jimmy Kimmel tearfully apologizing. I saying that he's touched because of her forgiveness. Guys, this is a turning point in the world, and it's up to the remnant, which most of the patriots are the remnant. The church is not the remnant. There are members of the church that are the remnant, and almost all of the patriots are part of that remnant. It's up to us to take it from here. But I
I
want to
agree.
talk. Go ahead, please.
I agree with you. When I started doing this in 2020 and I started meeting people across Oklahoma that I hadn't met before, and groups were starting to come together across Oklahoma. And I just had this thought, it's like a giant spider web has been laid over the state, and every person is a point, and the Lord is just pulling it from the center. And everyone's getting closer and closer and closer the more he pulls on his timing, of course. And the way that it went down with Charlie just hit so many people unexpectedly, but the reverb was not one of burning down cities or tearing up, whole towns. The reverb of it was, we know the Lord's in control. And there was someone who, and I may be going off topic, Charity, so just stop me, but there was someone I saw on Facebook who was mentioning how put together Erica Kirk was, and saying something doesn't feel right here. She's just too put together. Kind of, we're all a little bit of conspiracy theorists. And my thought was, this woman knows the weight that's on her shoulders, a whole organization, multiple organizations under it, along with all the employees, the families of those employees. This is a woman who's using her strength in God to pull together and do what Charlie would have wanted her to do, which is carry on his legacy in the Lord's name. And I mean, that funeral, I think I cried through the whole thing. I never stopped.
All 6 hours. Yeah.
All 6 hours, and worshiped and sang and cried, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just telling Charity before we went live that Charity knows it's been a hard battle for me finding my place in the fight. I've always said that I'm like the one that feels like I'm here to help the generals, like make sure they're watered and fed and taken care of on the back end. So I've always kind of shied away from being in the front of it. And it hit me hard. I'm still like broken up and crying every time I think of them, but it hit me hard because I was just telling myself, like, I can't do that anymore. I can't hide behind the generals. They need us out front. We need to be out front. We all need to be holding that weight. Again, we talk about President Trump. We're all grateful beyond belief that we have him as our general, but he can't do it alone. And we all have to just kind of get back into the fight, to be honest. Like, we have to rise up. But I have an interesting spot because I'm definitely more central. And I actually do work a lot with a lot of people who identify more as libertarians, independents, and Democrats. Honestly, there are Democrats that aren't totally crazy, that are in my sphere that I like to communicate with. And I had a few actually pop up in the last couple months asking me for my opinion on things, asking me to help them when they go on shows and debate, like big shows, like Don Lemon shows and Pierce shows and things like that. And I started communicating about abortion and Second Amendment rights and LGBTQ issues in a way that strung back to the Constitution, always back to the Constitution. And I kept pressing them. I said, here's my line. And I feel like this is Charlie Kirk for me. He loved everyone so much that he wanted to go into those spaces and talk to people about the Constitution, okay, about how to just get back to our founding documents and see them more clearly without kind of the psyops and all the crazy stuff that's been, indoctrinated into our children. And I started saying, okay, we're all patriots. Like, you talk about the patriots, Charity. It's like, why are just the conservatives the patriots? No, I have plenty of Democrat friends that consider themselves patriots. They care about their country. All Americans care about their children's future. They want to live in safe communities. And many of the Democrats that I know are actually patriots. They've been pinning us together in this war that's making us not see the real enemy. So I was hit where I was like, we need to communicate in a way where we actually reach each other. That's what Charlie was always trying to do. He was trying to reach you. And I was thinking of Jesus. So how did Jesus walk this earth? He went to the tax collectors. He went to, the prostitutes. He went into the taverns and all the places that Pharisees and certain, people in the church would never go, right? And in the only way he was able to have them hear him is if he went in with love. He couldn't go in just, smashing things and saying, you're doing everything wrong and you're a horrible person. He had to hug them and say, I love you. I want you to find God, right? And I feel like that with politics, where it's like, now I've communicated with, just because of the Charlie Kirk thing, I've probably talked about a dozen people in my state that are very libertarian in the middle, or have constantly voted Democrat and are struggling with the Charlie Kirk thing as well. And I've talked to them about these issues back to the Constitution, and they go, wow, you have a point. You have a point about the Second Amendment. You have a point about this. And the turning point is real. It's like I feel it every single day in my life. The people who are reaching out to me, who weren't reaching out to me before, it is profound. And one thing, and I'll stop, but one thing I want to say about Hollywood, and I brought this up to Tom the other day, Charity, talking about Jimmy Kimmel. I was ecstatic when I saw Hollywood go rally around him as far as saying we have to protect the First Amendment. I was happy that MAGA said, whoa, Pam Bondi went too far. Because again, we have to go back to the Constitution always. And I want to see Hollywood see the light. I'm happy that YouTube said they're not going to shut us down anymore. I'm happy that the Hollywood left, because of what happened to Jimmy Kimmel, is saying, hey, you can't shut people down like this. You can't stop them. I mean, again, anyone can be fired from their job for being despicable or not, representing the company properly. But if the government did get involved with the Jimmy Kimmel thing, they have a fair gripe. But the thing is, they didn't gripe when we were getting shut down, right?
That's it. Yeah.
So, but the fact that they're getting shut down now, if we all come together on that and say, hey, the First Amendment is the First Amendment.
That's right.
I mean, when we see the bridges being built on just our constitutional values, I always say, as long as you're not breaking laws and you're letting me live my life freely, I'm not coming after you. Our Constitution's built so that every walk of life can live freely, and we want to live in safe communities. So I keep telling people, it's not the Democrat that lives next door that's your enemy. It's the globalist Marxist agenda, evil agenda that's trying to enslave all of us. They don't care about you. They don't. When people talk about racism, they don't care about your race. They don't care about your religion, anything. They want to enslave you, all of us equally. They want to enslave the Democrat next door, just like the Republican. I mean, so when we wake up and we come together like that, I love that Hollywood stood up and said, we can't have censorship like that, because guess what? It goes both ways, buddy. It goes both ways.
I agree. Well, that's one of the things whenever I became the chairman of the Oklahoma party, that was one of the things Kendra and I have struggled with, because I'm always like, guys, we've got to make it on principle, not relationship. Mm-hmm. So you can't be upset when it's just your side getting picked on. You have to be upset when it's both sides.
If it goes against the Constitution, then you have to
on relationship and whether or not you like it has to be on the principle of what's happening. Mm-hmm. I was talking with a Turning Point Faith before Charlie died, probably 2 weeks before. And, as you especially know, Kendra, and I mean, I was looking at Andrea and I said Kendra, but Kendra's heard it too. But Andrea's been listening to me for a long time, complain about the church. As a matter of fact, sometimes we'd be on a show and she'd say church just to get me going, because I've been very angry with the pastors for a long time that cared more about their numbers than they cared about truth. I believe the church is 100% the reason why we're where we're at in America, because they did not draw the line. They compromised. They cared more about their butts in the seats and the money in their bank account than they cared about what was right. Yeah. They were not drawing the line. Now, so I've called them weenie pastors. I've been frustrated with the ones that were like, well, we're afraid of a tax status. I would be afraid to stand before God and say I didn't speak truth because I was afraid I would lose a tax status. Pay the taxes and speak the truth. That's always been my thought on it. And I have really felt that it was not respectable to compromise and to just say, well, we're not going to speak truth. So I'm talking with Turning Point Faith and I'm telling him that. And he said, no. He said, Charity, I get your point. And it wasn't Charlie. It was one of the representatives. But their perspective on it really made me repent and change my perspective. And it goes with what you're saying. He said, no, they are weenie pastors. We agree with you on that. But we see them as the mission field. So they're looking at them with compassion. He said, we want to let them know that we have backup for them, that we want to let them feel less alone so that they will feel more empowered to speak out. We want to show them that they can speak out and not lose their tax status. To me, for that being the reason not speak truth is still not respectable. I would never sit in a church with a pastor not afraid to speak the truth because he cared more about a tax status. I would never sit in that congregation. And I would encourage you not to as well. But he saw them as the mission field and compassion, and that Turning Point Faith will reach people because of that. And so, because he comes with love and understanding. And so, I am trying to be more, try to be more
Well,
loving and compassionate when it comes to that. There's still a righteous anger, right? That says,
yeah, yeah.
I can't believe you would not anyway.
Well,
But
Trump, I loved when Trump spoke at the
yeah,
service, and he said, listen, Charlie was always would tell me, we got to show love, for them, and like kind of forgive your enemies. And Trump's like, I can't, I hate
Yeah.
my enemy.
And
And
we
it's
love his
funny because
honesty.
when I was working the hardest campaign I ever worked, my assistant that they gave me, she's still a good friend of mine, and I thank God every day for her in my life. Her name's Amanda. And I remember we were at our biggest debate, and we were up against an opponent that just liked to play games with me and get in my head and really stress me out. And of course, I'd been working nonstop for a week with like zero sleep, trying to help my candidate with his speech. And it was a big moment. It was like the biggest moment of my career at that point in politics. And she pulls me aside because she knew, she was one of those people that just knew. She prayed with me. She stopped me. She put her hands on me and she started praying. And I'm crying and she's praying, and she's like, we have to do this because we have to protect ourselves from all this energy, all these negative forces that are coming on you right now. But she looked at me and she goes, you have to pray for your enemies.
that's right.
We pray for them. That's what we have to do right now. That's the only way we win this. And I said, what do you mean? Like, what kind of prayer do I say for them? Because I don't want to pray for them right now. And she said, one thing that we have to understand, we know that there's dark forces against us. So the same dark forces that are against us are really against everyone. The devil's coming after everyone the same way. And when we think of like the Epstein list and blackmail and all the horrible things that we know happen within the world of politics and everywhere, think of the kind of control that some of these people are under. Think of what they're up against. They're getting death threats too. Their family's been compromised. They might have been put in a compromising situation where someone controls them, right? You need to think of how far the blackmail goes. And she goes, I pray that if they're under some sort of control, it's lifted so that they can not be under that control anymore. And so that reminds me of Charlie, because he looked at these kids in these colleges that had been lied to, and they'd come from broken homes, from a system that wasn't their fault. They were the product of a broken system that he was trying to fix, but the only way to get through to them was to come to them with love and understanding, pray for them, and try to preach the truth so that maybe they would hear it. If you turn your back on them and you don't pray for them and you don't even want to communicate with them, then you're letting the devil win. And God created all of us. Every human being on this planet is your brother or your sister. God loves them just like he loves you. So you can't just write certain people off. I mean, we can be angry and we can speak with truth, but how do you actually reach them, and how do we actually win this battle if all we do is try to destroy one another?
And I saw him do something really well with labels. So the media loves to give us all labels: MAGA, liberal, Republican, national, Christian,
that divides
nationalist,
us,
right?
Yeah.
So he would go into those people and ask them questions outside of this label, and I would see people start to question the label that they had been given. He would say, you're an atheist, tell me more, or tell me why. And you would see people's faces and expressions, and they were questioning the label that had been given them, that they identified with. And a lot of times those labels have been pushed out by the media, right? They want everybody in a neat little box. We deal with it here in Oklahoma. I'm always asking Charity. So grassroots, establishment, where's the line? And that line is different for every single person. But Charlie was able to make them question that labeling system and bring them outside of that into something more fruitful, which is a conversation outside of that label that didn't define them from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and if we're blessing our enemies, like what Andrea was saying as well, goes with that, Kendra, because when you say bless your enemies in America, right, because we're pretty shallow, we tend to think, well, bless them with money and bless them with, and really blessing them would be them seeing the truth and seeing the error of their ways and turning back to God. Then they really wouldn't end up being your enemy anymore, and their inside would be healed. And that is truly the best blessing you can pray for them anyway. And so if we would continue to do that, it's what you both are saying. That's how we're going to win, is by blessing our enemies. Bless those that curse you.
Individual turning points. Individual turning points internally.
That's good. Yeah. For a turning point in the whole world. Guys, I was just blown away. I kept having people, they were wanting public statements and stuff. And I'm like, I just don't understand how you guys can do anything but cry right now. I
Mhm.
don't like a statement. Uh, but we
And the worldwide, I mean, seeing people in South Korea, in Australia,
yes,
all over Europe
Yes.
yeah,
respond to this. Again, that's why I keep telling people, if we stop and just fight each other as Americans, the enemy wins. The enemy sits back eating popcorn going, look at those idiots, they're all fighting one another, they hate each other, perfect, now we can come over and give them
right.
their 15-minute cities and their
That's
CBDCs and
right.
their forced vaccinations and all this kind of stuff. Like, worldwide, this is such a huge movement, and it is literally the fight for freedom on a global scale, not just us and Americans. Like, honestly, I think we just need to like snap out of it. What I love is the conspiracy theory stuff. Again, I'm seeing it on the central and the left side. Basically, we're all coming together. I just saw a clip with Dana White, and I love Dana White, and he was just like, and who was he talking to? It wasn't Tucker. I'm trying to remember, Sean maybe, but he's on a show and he goes, I don't trust the government at all, ever. And what American can right now, what we've lived through in the last 4 years.
Right.
I mean, and honestly, and again, we can all say how much we love Trump, but all of MAGA is in an uproar about a lot of things, about vaccines,
Yep.
which we always said was going to be an issue. He was going to have to get right on the vaccines, and he's baby stepping it. But a lot of people in MAGA are still upset about that. Pam Bondi has been a disaster. The whitewashing of the Epstein list.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of the issues that I think are bringing us kind of together. And what it is it's a tyrannical government thing or a trust. We can't even trust what happened to Charlie. We're watching Candace Owens and all these people go, how did the bullet do this? And how did he take apart the gun and put it in a backpack? And where did he put it? And how do you, when you put that gun together, if you even know what you're doing, it takes forever. None of it adds up. And we've seen it time and time and time again since JFK was assassinated, to MLK, to 9/11, Building 7, all this stuff. That's all Americans. I'm telling you, we used to be the crazy ones, Charity.
Yep.
I have tons of people on the left now reaching out to me going, oh, I don't trust any of this shit anymore either. You're totally right.
Let me
I
just
mean, it's a
tell
wake
you,
up, a turning point for the entire world, right?
I'm just saying it goes back to the Titanic, right? Like
Oh
my
yeah, it goes back
daughter
to the
is
Titanic.
really big
Who
in
was
the
on the
Titanic.
Titanic?
Yeah.
Who was on it and who walked off?
Thank
right
you.
before.
Really interesting, huh?
Like,
And then the Federal Reserve
interesting.
just anyway.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve. Again, we can get it all into
Federal
it, but
Reserve,
this is
Titanic. Who was on it? Who was it? Who was
this
against?
is light. God
Yes.
is shining light on
Yes.
it. And what's great is if, again, I'm always going to be conservative. I'm always going to be Christian.
Yes.
I'm always going to want the most conservative candidates in office that are constitutional. Yes, all of that. But I love seeing people of all walks of life see the light and start like understanding that we have more in common than we
Right.
have different.
So, what can you do? What can each person watching do? Number one, which is something you guys have heard me say a lot, you have to have that time with God every day. You
Every
have to
day.
read your Bible and you have to pray every day. It is what keeps you centered. My friends like to tease me and call me a politician just to make me mad. I pray and keep that time with God every day so that I don't become a politician, so that I don't compromise, and so that I can discern and see clearly. That is how we fight the battle, is by staying in with the presence of God. But then you also have faith without works is dead. So then what's the practical application? Well, that's why we have the brigades. When I ask you to join the brigades, you can join for free. This is not something we're making money on. This is something we're just trying to save the country. The brigades helps you take back your community because it's put somebody at a post where the enemy's coming in every time. School board meetings, city council meetings, county commissioner meetings, library meetings. If there's a government entity, you have somebody keeping an eye on that post in your community. You come together, you talk about it, so you know what's going on, and you can decide if there needs to be anything that you have to do counteractive or proactive, because you can see the direction they're going. And then you talk with the other communities, brigades in your state. And then we have states that talk to the other states. And we have a call we have a chat for the state leaders. And then we have a call once a month. But then your state also, the different chapters in your state also hold brigades. This is an actionable plan because the enemy is after your time as well. So this takes 2 to 4 hours a month of your time. Let's say 2 hours to go to the meeting. That's going to include drive time. And then 2 hours to go to your brigades meeting to report what's going on so you guys can decide what you're going to do. This is how we fight back, is by all of us taking our ownership in our communities. We really are going to fight this by taking back our communities. And the globalists, by the way, are employing people in your city. I don't care how small it is. What we're seeing is disgusting. And so it is important that we're fighting back and that we're holding our conservative values. But we have a friend of ours, Jonathan Hewitt, which I want to bring. He offers resources for anyone participating in the brigades, for anyone that doesn't even want to do it through the brigades, that just wants to do this on their own. He's got resources for you. I suggest you do it through the brigades because we're stronger together, and that web of information sharing is imperative to the winning. We have to fight together, and that's how we're going to win. And so, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, ladies, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Hi,
So, by the way, I was
Jonathan.
listening to you guys talk like prior to coming up, and beautiful. Like the togetherness that the unfortunate event caused, right? Is just like such a good reminder that God takes everything that's evil and can make it good. And we're living in that time right now. I don't know if you guys think so, but I never thought in my life that I would live in the time of a martyr and what that brings, right? But unfortunately, by the grace of God, we get to experience that. And so it was a beautiful, like, little memory you guys had of him. And so
That's great. Well, tell us about anchorsofliberty.org. What are you doing on what do you offer?
yeah, so it kind of goes back, and Kendra will know like a lot about this. About like 4 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Liberty Vision USA. And it just wasn't the right time. I just had a lot of things going on and it just never took off. But since then, I've been involved both in like Oklahoma politics. I've run for office, and then I've seen like the impacts of like civics or lack of civic engagement, both of my time in the military and then as a police officer. I was a police officer for 7 years. And what we're seeing is just a slow decay or erosion of like the constitutional principles, and then also just the engagement of the populace in government. And so Anchors of Liberty is a movement of citizens that aims to try to anchor our liberties back. Just as a ship drifts away under the current, well, so does our liberties and our freedom if we allow the culture to drift, right? And so what happens is that Anchors of Liberty has created tools and resources that will then enable anchor captains within their local community to organize a team together and then go out and make a positive impact in their community, whether it be local school boards, it's city council, state legislature, federal government. They will have the tools that they need to do it. I think a lot of people want to be involved, but they just don't know what to do or how to do it. And that's the problem that Anchors of Liberty is trying to solve.
So let's say we have someone in the brigades that wants to run for school board or go to a school board meeting. What is it that you offer?
Yeah. So one, we'd offer just education. I think in Oklahoma and then just around the country in general, we have a lack of like constitutional education, right? Like you have people coming out that have never read the Federalist Papers, don't know what the notes of the convention are, right? Like key pieces of literature and the formation of the U.S. government, right? And those key pieces should influence the decisions that our leaders make, right? They have to know the box to stay in if they're going to stay within the box. And so one, we offer that, right? But two, we offer the support that obviously if you're constitutionally minded, right, then you're also going to have a organization of people at your disposal that are going to be willing to support you, right? And so you have it on both sides, both to educate yourself and then a network of patriots that will stand behind you to support you.
That's awesome. Very cool. Kendra, you said you worked with him on this, or he said you worked with him on this?
Well, Jonathan and I guess I was thinking back, I guess it's been about 4 years. Yeah, we did Liberty Vision USA. We interviewed a lady who had come over from communist Cuba as a child, and we were putting out a series. We wanted people to hear those experiences in real life, in real time, from people who had actually experienced them. Because it's one thing when it's in a book. It's one thing when someone's telling you about it. We all know that sometimes personal experience is the best catalyst for change. And so we worked on some things like that. And then Jonathan and his wife had a beautiful baby girl, and they're such devoted parents. So they worked on that for a bit. He ran for office, and then we've been chatting a little bit about this new endeavor, and I'm excited. He's very patient. He's very good with videos and putting things out. So his information will be spot on. He's exact about the facts. There will not be deviations from truth. It will be the facts and what is really needing to be done or how you can do it. So I'm excited to see this happening.
I just want to say, Kendra, thank you for your kind words. But you brought up the truth, and I think that it goes so well with what Anchors of Liberty is, right? Like its tagline or like the mantra, right, is that we are going to be rooted in truth, grounded in Christ, and anchored in freedom. Those three things will be the driving factor behind every decision that Anchors of Liberty makes. And so it's exciting. And I think that like we are at the turning point, but I would argue that we're even more at a tipping point, right? So like figure you're going down the road and you have the point to make that U-turn at the turning point. But if you continue, we're going to tip, right? And so people have to make the decision whether they're going to turn or as America as a whole, if we're going to tip.
You know, the beautiful thing that happened with this is we have been saying for years, Andrea and I for years publicly have been saying, you guys, the silent majority is so much bigger than you could ever think.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what we're seeing now is that we were absolutely correct. What was that? 3 times the people that showed up for the Super Bowl showed up to Charlie's funeral. And those are the ones that watched in person, while millions of us were watching from home. Guys, we are the majority. We always have been. We always knew it. We just don't throw temper tantrums. We're not as loud. Here's what's interesting, though, is the shot heard around the world was definitely a spiritual shot, right? Like the Patriots were like upset over this man that most of us never got to meet, right? I got to be in the room with him. I never met him. But
yeah, I was around him a ton and worked with a ton of his people, but I was always one of those people like, I'm not going to walk up to him and bother him. He's busy.
Right. Same here, right? I'm not going to, I wasn't going to do that.
Like, I mean, I know General Flynn well, but like, how many times am I going to run up to him and be like, hey, and like talk to him? He's busy,
Right. Same here. So we were upset over this man we'd never really talked to, right? And millions of people were, because it was such a spiritual thing. And I think President Trump summed it up well when he said, well, the gun was aimed at him, what the bullets were aimed at us. Oof. And we knew it. But it was so much more than that, because then the evil started saying things out loud that they would not have even said a few days prior. There was a spiritual shift in the atmosphere when that bullet hit him. And we would be remiss to totally ignore that. What I talk about is reminiscent of the Nazis, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Andrea.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No,
we're
it's
just
okay.
like also passionate.
We always get excited. Okay.
But I mean, a lot of people have talked about like that death curdle that the enemy will cry out right before you're victorious. And so it's like this desperation that we saw from these desperate people. They thought that was the right reaction because they felt so offended by his message. They thought he was racist. They thought that he hated all gay people. They thought that he was trying to tell them that they couldn't live their life the way they wanted. And again, this is me trying to implore the conservative side to understand that the hypocrisy that we see is also living on the other side. They're seeing a lot of hypocrisy too. They're nitpicking things that they see because there's hypocrisy everywhere. And what I loved is so many of them, when they went back and all of a sudden on all media everywhere, it was just Charlie Kirk reels. So everyone started seeing him. People who probably didn't see his speeches started seeing him. It was hard because sometimes they only saw little snippets and then they would take the one little negative thing. It's like, I heard a lot of left-wing people go, wow, if you sit and watch a whole one of his speeches, not little pieces, a whole one, you really see that he was nothing, like they were painting. He was actually not racist. He wasn't trying to say that you're, not allowed to do A, B, and C. He was just trying to wake you up to where the real enemy was in our society.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, is they hated what they thought he was saying. Exactly. When they stopped and people actually took initiative and had integrity and watched it, he was not saying what the media and the
lunatics
left were saying, that he was saying. And
Well, and
so that
Andrew,
was
I
a
think
big piece of it.
I think Andrea, like going back to like my statement when I first came up, right? Like you were talking about how like it happened, and then Charlie Kirk was everywhere, right? Like my Facebook and my
Everywhere.
TikTok are still.
Yeah.
I can't go more than a video without a video of him next, right? And I don't remember who said it, but there's the old adage that a king's reign ends when he dies, but a martyr's reign begins when he dies. And I think we're seeing that right now, right? Like you're seeing the resurgence, people going and finding out for themselves. And then, you know, like you guys said, God brings light in due time, right? He'll bring light to everything. And God's light's definitely shining down upon the truth currently.
And I think the church, I love talking to you guys because you guys are great Oklahomans that are proud Christians, and it's interwoven into everything you do. And that's a beautiful thing. And you actually have balls. You're not little weenies like Charity says. But really, when we talk about the weenie pastors and the weenie churches out there and the corruption, we're talking about the charity. When you're talking about the special tax status they get, that has to be abolished. We have to get rid of that. That is why there's so much corruption. However, the church has blood on their hands, in my opinion. They've done such a poor job at reaching out to people who, again, might identify as atheists, or we're told that atheism is that. They're shutting out the others, right? That's the exact opposite of what a church is supposed to do. You're supposed to open the door and wash their feet. You're supposed to let them all in, right? And instead, the church is like shutting people out. And it's just, I feel like there's so much about, like what you're saying, Charity, are bad leaders who had no balls to fight for our freedoms. I mean, church, even in Jesus's time, church and politics, they did have to be combined, or else there's no moral laws of the land, right? Our Constitution was built with the Bible at the center of it. That is what laws are. Laws are built on the Christian narrative, because there is right and wrong in this world. It's, and so, we saw it in COVID. All the churches that shut down. Are you kidding me?
Please. I agree. The Black Robe Regimen, right? So the Black Robe
Yes.
Regimen are the ones that they were our founding fathers. They were pastors that understood in the Revolutionary War that they had to get out and fight. And so they implored their people to and said, this is our duty as Christians. And so the British, made fun of them and called them the Black Robe Regiment. And they took it. They said, you know what? We're going to take that as a badge of honor. And
but again, if the church has hypocrisy, what I'm saying is the church is responsible for the atheism in the world. The church is responsible for the many people who are lost right now. Because if you are corrupt, and I can see you're corrupt, and you're also a weenie who doesn't stand for anything, and you're just the hypocrisy in the church is probably why so many people don't want to. You know how many friends of mine say I'm Christian, but I don't want to walk into a big church? Like, they always ask me, what church do you go to? Because I'd rather go to a tent in a field with you and a couple of friends and read the Bible with you than ever walk into a big church, right?
My husband and I hold a Bible study that I went and filed, and it's called Oil and Fire Ministry. There's been times when we could call it a church. I call it more of a Bible study.
Yeah.
But we've got a building, and we keep coming back to, I feel like the Lord wants it to be in the homes. And so we do it in the homes. But I have said that, Andrea, so many times. I'm like, if we get big enough that I have to get into a building, I want it to be a tent. Because I am not interested in coddling babies. If you need air conditioning and a soft pew, go down the street. They will coddle you there. This is for people that want real.
But there's people who don't want to go into church for good reason, and they're good people, right, and they're Christian, and they read the Bible, but they have a personal relationship with God, because the hypocrisy they see in the church repels them, and it's legitimate.
But the church is turning around.
I was one of those 5 years ago, and when I started going back to church after COVID, I really realized that is something the enemy plants in us.
Yep.
To keep us out of the church.
And you can find a church that you connect with, but I still, when we talk about that stuff, I hold them responsible for not speaking the right way to those people and standing in those values. When we see these rich pastors doing bad things or doing nothing when we need them to lead, they're responsible for the state of our country. I'm sorry.
I agree. I agree with you on that.
My wife and I were both cradle Catholics, been Catholics our whole life. And one thing that always we always thought was interesting because we just don't have it in the Catholic churches, like the mega churches, like where like pastors are making millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, they're
Like-
driving Ferraris.
Like that always blew our mind. We're like,
So I
God
do
is
want
in
to
a franchise.
I do want to say that we need to be careful judging hearts, right? But we can say if you're from the pulpit and you are not speaking truth because you are more worried about a tax status or you're worried about offending, truth is sometimes offensive. It is often the hardest thing to do. And that's what you have to do. And I do think the church is turning around, and I'm seeing a change in the church.
I think so too. The turning point.
But I've said for a long time, and I think we're seeing it, that revival's coming, but it won't come through the church because the church chokes the life out of it. And so what we're seeing is a revival. And even though the churches were full, and I'm glad because people are looking for truth, I'm hoping that this reached the mission field of the pastors that he was trying to reach, and that there's some truth spoken. But I still don't believe the revival will happen in the church. I think it'll happen outside of the church because they dropped the ball. Truthfully.
And we have two types of churches.
Personal.
Two types of churches going on here. You have the church, the 501c3 entity, and then you have the church that is the people. And it would be great if the people churches could rise up and do what Charity's doing, Bible studies in the home, meet at a park. I think having prayer groups at restaurants is an excellent way to open the door for others to say, hey, what's going on here? You guys are bold enough to be praying in a restaurant and have your Bibles out. Not only that, imagine the kids that come through that restaurant and see adults sitting at a table with open Bibles. Those are the things that everyday Americans can do to bring that church revival maybe faster. But the church itself as an entity is a different thing, right? Like, I just want to clarify that we're talking about 501c3 church, not the church body of the people of Christ. Not
But even the 501c3, they are turning around. But the compromise has been disgusting.
Well,
it truly has been disgusting. And I've been calling it out for years. It is it's disgusting. And so I don't, when my license plate, as you guys like to tease me about, says table flipper, I'm not just talking about politics. I'm absolutely talking about the church too. But I really don't mean to beat up on the church because the church is the bride and God is trying to show them truth. And Charlie was, the whole Turning Point Faith is wanting to be a mission field to these guys so that they can be empowered to be who they're supposed to be. And I hope that they are. And I think we're seeing a turning point in the church too. And that's a good thing. And there are good pastors out there that have stood in the face of all of this and spoken truth. You know, we've got Dan Fisher in Oklahoma. We've got Dan Fisher. We've got Jackson Lawmeyer. There's a David Knox. There's a few that never wavered. They didn't close their churches. They didn't waver. And and then there's others that will come up. And that I do believe we're seeing a change in the church too. I am excited with the mission, and I know Erica Kirk can do it. I am so excited. You guys have seen this reel that keeps going around where Charlie and Erica says she's more conservative than he is. That's exciting because I think she's a badass. I think she can handle whatever's about to happen.
She's got it.
God has equipped her. She is smart. She is very capable. And I think the enemy is going to wish that maybe he would have just left him alone because they've unleashed it. Even the Bible talks about not messing with a scorned woman. And this woman.
Well, not only that, but I saw this like post. It was like, so Charlie spoke to the young men and saved the young men. Like that was his mission. Well, Erica is about to speak to the young women and change the hearts and minds of young women, which will be phenomenal. Imagine just a bunch of Christian, God-fearing, God-loving men in our country, and then supported and accompanied by a large number of Christian, God-fearing women.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Guys, this is a turning point for the entire world. And I encourage you to get involved with the brigades. Get the resources from anchorsofliberty.org. We're going to put them on our website so that they're a resource for all the brigades across the country. I'm excited. You guys go to tomrenz.com. Tom Renz is a great affiliate of ours. I don't really call him an affiliate because I don't get paid if he does stuff. So affiliates like give you kickbacks, right? Tom is just a good friend of the brigades. He's always there to help. If the brigades come up against something and needs some legal advice, he's always happy to give it. You can find the Freedom Brigade's website on his webpage, and you can find him on our webpage. He partners with us in a big way. We also need to remember that we're in a war, as we continually stated, and where you spend your money matters. When you buy stuff from big box stores, you buy poison, whether it is medicine, whether it is food, whatever it is. But when you buy from Patriots, not only do you support the Patriot movement, but you get products that are healthier for you, that are natural, and that are meant to cure you. Have you guys ever wanted to go back, even the 1800s, but even the farther back, and just wonder, man, would the air quality, what would that have been like? If you were to come from 1801 to 2025, would you be like, "Ugh, how do you guys breathe in this?"
Yeah.
Just the air quality.
So I do so much with the
Mention
Maha
food.
space. Yeah, I do so much with the Maha space. I have people reaching out to me all the time for
Yeah.
advice, because I've always been like a health hippie, health nut.
Right.
But I've been talking about gel nails and nail polish, really bad for you.
Yeah.
I've been talking about all the smelly stuff that you put in your house. And I just shared an article about how bad those Scentsy things are, those wax things that
Yes.
you melt in your house.
Terrible.
You're like breathing in plastic. And so when you think about it, from your dryer sheets to your
Yes.
laundry soap, obviously to the food, the water is a horrible, horrible thing. The water is absolutely poisoning us. And like you're saying, the air, just the air. And yeah, it's wild when I think about it, just how much healthier you'd be going back to before all of this technology.
It's crazy. I mean, you have to get a hydrogen bottle to get hydrogen in your water the way
Yeah.
we used to have it, right?
Because it naturally does it, but now it's coming out of a sewer dump into your freaking sink, and it's covered in, it has estrogen in it from our pee. It's full of estrogen, which is killing all the men's testosterone in the world, which is getting rid of men.
Thank you. We need more men. Where are the cowboys? Where have all the cowboys gone? We need men.
I need some John Waynes, okay?
Masculinity. That's
John Wayne. There would be no
They're
John
gone.
Wayne.
There's very few men
truly-
left.
Well, now
So shop the Freedom Brigades. Shop the Freedom Brigades.
Yes, there's the
get clean
affiliates
things.
there. We
Yep.
have Dr. Sherry Tenpenny
Mhm.
has the supplements that she puts out. She's got stuff that is it gets rid of the parasites, which
Yep.
everyone has them from the crap in our society.
Mhm.
And so it's just a daily cleanse. You feel healthier. It helps with the gut. There's so many different aspects, just so many different things. You can get them on sale at the Freedom Brigades. I think you get your first bottle for $10 and just see if you like it.
Yep. Touchdown.
Anyway, yeah, we've got meat there, right? That hasn't been processed. There's
Mhm.
no mRNA
Well, that's
in it.
awesome.
And actually, it's real meat. This wasn't something we had to say 5 years ago, but now we have to say out loud, it is all meat. There is no synthetic anything.
Mhm.
It's crazy. Anyway, go to freedombrigades.com, shop the affiliates. It supports us. You get healthier stuff. Go to tomrenz.com, shop his affiliates for the same reason. It is important for your health that you stay healthy. You need to stay out of the pharmakeia system that's killing you. I'm scared to death to go to the hospital. I'm scared to death to go, for a bunch of reasons, right? I try not to take any prescriptions. I let them take my thyroid out, so I have to take that every day. But you guys, we've got to be mindful and be proactive with our health. And so there's lots of resources for you to do that in both places. So last words, Andrea, we haven't seen you. Last words.
I get the last words.
Yeah.
So I know we're all angry. I think again, I've been criticized. I did my live video and Tom shared it. I've been criticized I call myself sometimes like a liberal hugger, like a tree hugger, but I want to wrap my arms around them. I know we're angry.
It's a great video, by the way.
But
Great
I know
video.
we're angry, but I'm just imploring all of my conservative Christian friends, brothers and sisters out there, stop and be empathetic like Charlie. Think about how to speak to people who don't see things the same way as you in an effective way. Don't lead with hate and the vitriol that they've done. Pour water on the flames. And again, we're not, obviously, like you said, we're not in the streets rioting, but however, we are very angry. But the only way we beat the real enemy, which is globalism, is by loving your neighbor. We have to love each other.
Amen to
Right.
that.
Just like Erica said, she forgives, which was such a profound statement. She forgives the man that killed her husband, which it gave me goosebumps just saying it. I don't know if I could ever do that. but we also have to lead. She's leading us, follow in her footsteps.
That's good. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
God bless.
Hey, thank you guys.